Welcome to the latest FBU Masterclass. Today we have Robin. Rob's speciality / superpower is managing to grow his business while dealing with, there's still newborns, right? Class as newborns?
Yeah, there will be, yeah.
Newborn twins, okay? So if you're a parent or if you're even probably pregnant or your partner's pregnant or you're about to have a child or you're dealing with younger children and you're worried about how to grow the business and how to make sure that you have that balance right where you obviously enjoy time with your kids and you put the effort in where it's necessary. Rob's somebody that's had, incredible success with his business. I'm assuming his children are okay.
Yeah, that's
so he's being a parent as well. Just got to check just in case. What I do basically, I just neglect him. So make sure, obviously this is going to help you out. So take some notes. We're going to get right into it. Before we get straight into it, make sure that you hit the subscribe button to let yourself know when we do more videos, and hit the notification bell as well. So you can get told when we do new masterclasses. Straight in, mate. What are your biggest tips for parents?
So first of all, I would say you have to have structure for your weeks. You have to have specified time blocks for work, for family time, for anything else. Without that, everything's just going to fall apart. So like with myself, how I'll structure my week is I'll typically, if it's a day when I'm going to the gym, I'll get up at 5, I'll go train by 6, I'm home by 7. I'll then have them next couple of hours sort of with the kids in the morning before they're off with Ellis to go to groups and other bits and pieces that they do. And then my work starts at 9 o'clock. So I'll then work from 9 all the way through till 6. I'll have a little break in between in terms of for lunch and again to see them sort of over lunchtime. And then there'll be a couple of nights a week where I'll do sort of 3-hour blocks in an evening, which I'll use for sales calls. But what you might find initially, especially if it's going to be a newborn, is those time blocks might have to be slightly short. You couldn't necessarily sit and go, right, I'm just going to sit here for 8 hours. So do things in for example, like 4-hour blocks. But make sure you know what you're going to do with that time before you sit there. Don't just be sat there going, right, it's Monday, it's 9 a.m, what am I going to do? It's like, right, is this the time when you're going to plan your content for the week? You're going to organize what you're going to do. You're going to organize your stories, and that's how it's going to look. And then, for example, it might be, right, 30 minutes of that morning, I'm going to spend replying to lead gen messages from the night before. At lunchtime, I'm also going to spend 15 minutes then maybe following people that are my niche and sort of doing other little bits of lead gen stuff. And then in the evening, when you're perhaps spending time with your kids, if possible, I would then go, right, can you have another 30 minutes to go, right, this is when people are going to be sat at home on their arse from work. This is the time when I can be having conversations with people. This is when I can be having back and forth and getting people booked on sales calls. So I think structure and planning your week and understanding, knowing exactly what you're going to be doing when it comes to you being sat there at your laptop is crucial, because otherwise you're going to be chasing your ass and it's going to fall apart. Because before you have kids, you think, I've got all the time in the world. Or if you think you're busy before you have them, like, everyone said it to me before and I thought they were chatting shit, but wait until you do. And then you'll realize how important you being really rigid with that time is.
How do you then, within that time, set your priorities? What would you look at? Say somebody was in a process, obviously, and I know your business is still growing, right? But it's at a very decent level now. It wasn't when the twins were born. It was okay, but it wasn't. So how did you prioritize? Right, I still need to grow this business. I need some fast growth. How did you prioritize the tasks that you were doing?
So what I looked at was, first of all, obviously, growth was the biggest thing in terms of getting more clients through the door. So lead gen was the biggest priority. Without having conversations with people, without being able to get them on calls, without being able to speak to them and show that my program is the solution for them, nothing else really mattered. Obviously, alongside that, you've got creating content and sharing, whether it's social proof or sort of posts that are really going to hit with your target audience and your niche that they can relate to. So that as soon as they come onto your page and they maybe watch something of yours, they go, that is me. Like, that is me to a nutshell. So whenever I'm thinking about putting content out, it's like as if I'm speaking to one particular person. And I think obviously that's going to come down to you understanding what their struggles are and what their desires are, and obviously deeply understanding them as a person. So I think if your number one priority is you need to get more people through the door, it's lead gen, content that speaks to those people, and obviously coaching your clients. So I think those are going to be the most important things. Anything else, obviously sales calls within that, I think anything else can take a back seat for now. Anything fancy you want to implement, because you have to get people through the door and money in your account effectively.
What are the sacrifices that you've potentially had to make though? Because I'm assuming that it hasn't all been completely rosy, right? Like, it's not like, oh yeah, well basically the twins were born and I just managed everything and I do everything perfectly. So like, where have you had to kind of
So there's been times where, like, no, now don't get me wrong, you're going to be a little bit sleep deprived anyway, but where if they're sleeping through, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to crack on. Or if in an evening, as soon as they go to sleep, you know, I've had to sacrifice a bit of time that like me and my Mrs. Ellis would normally have together and go, look, I've got to spend these 3-4 hours doing these sales calls, doing this. And, you know, you do have to make sacrifices because there is only so much time within a day. And obviously kids are going to take up a fair amount of that. You've got to try and get enough sleep, but also you've got to get as much done as you can within that time. So it's just making sure you are as efficient as possible with that time, but also realize you are going to have to make sacrifices as part of that. That's just, otherwise you're not going to grow. Otherwise you're just going to stay in a position where you're either comfortable and you're not going to grow, or you're uncomfortable and not going to move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So if you could give 3 then just really simple tips for people that are maybe worried about how they're still going to continue to grow their business with children on the horizon, what would be 3 big takeaways? Our
first one would be have structure with your week. Know exactly what you're going to be doing at that time. The second one would be understand what your priorities are. Like, spend the time that you need to on those and don't worry about everything else, because you can have a list of 10 things, but in reality, it's going to be the top 2, 3, 4 things that need doing. And the last one is realize that you are going to have to make sacrifices, especially in the beginning. Not everything is going to be super rosy, super comfortable. Like, even now, I sort of said to you off air, like, I got up at 4 a.m. this morning so I could do all my check-ins before I came and did this. Again, I'm not saying everyone has to necessarily do that, but it's something that, you know, at times you're going to have to do that to get to where you want to be. Perfect. Thank you very much. And if people want to have a bit of a nosy at your business, have a look at kind of how you're coping, at least on the front end, on the rosy way of Instagram, where can they find you? Rob_Zand_fitness is where you can find me. Thank you very much, mate. And if you haven't already, make sure that you hit the subscribe button to let you know when we do more videos, hit the bell notification so you are told when we have more of these masterclasses. Hopefully that was useful for you. If you are a new parent, leave us a comment below, ask Rob any questions and I'll try and strong arm him into getting back to some of you. And yeah, thank you very much.